Hello, my friends. Happy Friday night. It is April 9th, 2021 in Toronto. We are under stay-at-home orders, so you all better be tuning in tonight because you got nothing else to do. And I've got some pretty fun stuff to talk about and a great guest. I'm really excited to have you here. So welcome to the Smart Self live stream. And I, Juliana Tricolocina, your guest with the mostest name you've ever heard, is very excited to introduce my guest tonight, Matt Litzinger. How are you, my dear?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in a good mood. You're part of that. I'm enjoying the energy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the energy is flowing.
Exactly. So we should start with the toast. So maybe just beautiful copy to beautiful copywriting.
A beautiful copy and eye contact. So I can't see your eyes, but in the camera.
Okay, I'm gonna look in the camera.
Yes,
okay, I'm looking in the camera. And cheers. And to everyone who's out there tonight, get whatever your favorite drink is, wine, beer, tea, coffee, whatever your
water.
Vice.
Water is acceptable.
Water is actually a very healthy thing.
Exactly.
Water is completely acceptable.
Yes.
And important. I've been trying to teach this to my son who wants to live on apple juice and bacon. So,
I would like to say I'm drinking wine to help with the stage fright.
Yes.
To kind of loosen my anxiety somewhat. So
that is completely okay. You don't need an excuse to drink wine in my book.
Okay.
Okay. I got to ask you something right off the bat because we were having a little chit chat before we went live here. What was your favorite place in Italy?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would have to say, and it's going to be a bit of a typical, well, maybe not, but what I think someone would think is a typical answer. It would be a toss-up between, I have to pick one. I'm going to say Positano.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That is both cliche and understandable.
Yes. But I want to say, I think I feel like when I was lucky enough to first be in that part of the world, it felt like the first time I got to go to New York City and see the Empire State Building live. It was seeing the building that King Kong had climbed. I had only ever seen that building on postcards and magazine clippings and in films. Positano was like something I'd only seen in James Bond movies. And maybe The Talented Mr. Ripley, or it wasn't even like I couldn't even fathom, oh no, it's actually real. That wasn't some and I think the timing and the age I was and all the things, it's left such an impression on me. I don't think I'll ever forget it. So I would say that is my favorite place.
Yeah, no, that's fair. One of my favorite spots was, I can't say my favorite because my family's from Italy, so I can't diss my hometowns, but one of my favorite spots was in Sorrento. We had our hotel right in the mountain, and you opened the door and you were literally on a little balcony edge overlooking the water. And just there's a reason people settled there so early.
Exactly. I mean, it feels like you're on the fingertip of God. Like it's just a different thing. If any of your listeners are lucky enough, when we are allowed to travel with a little bit more frequency and freedom, it's just a beautiful part of the planet Earth, amongst, I'm sure, a bunch of other equally beautiful places I've never been to yet.
But for sure.
Specific to Italy, that's it's a great spot.
I appreciate the spotlight moment. And on that note, I'm going to dial back and let's introduce ourselves. Mr. Matt Litzinger. I am pronouncing Litzinger right?
Yes, you are. One of the few.
Really? What do you get usually?
Litzinger.
Okay.
I get the soft G often, but it's Litzinger.
Yeah, I get Juliana Tricolocina.
Yeah.
It's Tricolocina.
Right.
You got to flip it because Italians like to, like they poke you, so they have to just flip it on you. All right. So, my dear.
Yes.
you and I met this week.
Yes.
I posted some interesting ads on LinkedIn that I just thought were worthy of a Monday break, to kind of pay tribute to. Great campaign, and I'm going to pull them up on screen in a minute. And an avalanche of comments and reactions ensued, and you and I met, and here we are hanging out on Friday night.
Yes.
How are you involved? How are you involved with these ads? Let's set some context.
Okay, I am one of the founders and owners of an agency called The Local Collective. My role within that is as the president and chief creative officer. And PinkCherry, whom the boards are for and the radio commercials are for, that campaign is one of our client partners. So that's how I'm involved. We do work with them, alongside them. They're great clients, by the way, as I think you can see in the work that you posted. But that's how I'm involved. So from start to finish,
Awesome.
I'm involved. I don't know what to say without sounding
start to finish. No, that's all good. So it all started with this. Well, the truth is, it started a few years ago when I saw the very first ad, I believe, in this whole vein, in this whole theme of edgy kind of, but not saying it directly, women's empowerment thing. I saw the Scream Your Own Name campaign, and then not long ago I was driving down the highway and I saw this. Tell me about this ad.
Okay, well, there's a bunch of conversations, obviously, that happen behind the scenes. First of all, I'll say, the Screen Your Own Name board is a killer board. We didn't do that. That was before we were client partners with PinkCherry. So again, testament not only to the creative agency and the people that are involved in making that, but again, to this client partner for having the eye and recognizing to some degree, even ahead of the curve, the need for a mature, empowering conversation around sex and sexual wellness. This campaign specifically, it's a regulated category. So there's only so many messages you can put out without running the risk of creating a new issue. This year, specifically in COVID, a lot of people, money, investments, the kind of GameStop of things and the Reddit of things, and stocks increasing and falling down. It's a lot more of a sticky conversation. It's very tangible, and it's tax season. Both in Canada, it's all about RSP contributions, and in the States, which this is a North American wide campaign, in the States it's 401ks. So we just thought maybe there's a conversation here that's a legitimate conversation, that while you're worrying about your investments and all the mental health and sexual wellness and all the issues that have come to the forefront over the past year, that as people are considering their investments, they shouldn't, and on a serious tone, they shouldn't lose sight of investing in themselves this way as well, in the legitimate health benefits that come from sexual well-being.
Yes.
Then it just also happens to make for really fun, creative and fun headlines that allow us to kind of get around some of the regulations. It's almost like watching an episode of The Simpsons. I have a couple young kids, and when I watch The Simpsons with them, we're laughing at the same jokes, but we're laughing for different reasons. And I think that's how this type of advertising works. I mean, we're big fans at our agency of saying we like to learn the rules so we know how to break them. And I think that's just right. Provoke a conversation. We're big believers that advertising doesn't sell anything. People talking about your advertising sells everything. And I think that we're lucky enough with respect to PinkCherry to have a client partner that thinks that same way and understands that quite well.
Yeah, I had dug up that exact quote from you, and I'm glad that you brought it up because I was going to. I think that is it's a very interesting meta way of thinking about marketing accurately. So I think that's very cool. So we've got this one. So these all say invest in yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah, this campaign platform is invest in yourself, and it seems to be gaining quite a bit of traction. We've just had, I think today, another 6 boards went up in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And it's interesting in Las Vegas. It actually, our client, the CEO at PinkCherry, brought it up, saying, it's not like when you buy out a home in other markets, because in Vegas, it's different people every time. Like the states are a little bit ahead of us now with travel, so they're probably only a month away from it really getting back to full swing. It's never the same people week after week. Just thought it was a smart observation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I love about this work, like the copy is on point, but also like the photography. Did you guys do the original photography for this?
No. So
okay.
what we did was, again, if you're going to mimic the cheesy financial work that gets done, we use stock imagery.
I think it's brilliant. Like the pictures are clean and appealing. Like they're perfectly unoffensive, right? But they're also, and I kind of hate to say it this way because I use the word sexy to mean a bunch of things, but in the traditional way that we use the word sexy, they're not sexy, right? And I just think it's a really great balance of.
Well, I think I think anytime you can make something that's familiar feel the right amount of unfamiliar, it sticks. So people are used to seeing this type of imagery. They may even be used to seeing these types of headlines, but not in this type of context. And if you don't understand what PinkCherry is, we believe, and it seems to be working based on the numbers that are going to the site, that it's intriguing enough to cause you to have that reaction. And if it isn't, that typeface we've chosen for the headlines, it's playful. It isn't, it's kind of straight. It's got serifs, the little bits on the ends that make it feel a little bit more conservative, like the New York Times typeface. But it's got these little playful ascenders on the R or the V, or that just, it's almost like it's winking at you that there's more to this than it looks like. And I think that's working. I think people are figuring it out. Not unlike the radio kind of reveals itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to play that in a second. I'm glad that you brought up the font because I was going to ask if you guys chose it, but I honest to God thought it's one of the brand fonts. It really just fits in a strong way.
Yeah, well, I think moving forward, it's probably going to be one of the brand fonts. Like it's part of all of this is part of a larger migration for the brand. They've seen dramatic increases in numbers. I think they are one of the categories that is well suited, frankly, for what the last year has been like. And they're also incredibly, it's run by an incredibly smart individual who knows how to pivot and react the right way, and maybe to more of a degree, know when not to react. So prior to this campaign, we went out with, I can't remember off the top, I think we had 3 headlines that were right around the new year: recharge your batteries, you're welcome, and I'm forgetting. I wish I had that. I should have been more prepared. There's a third headline where we introduced this kind of background color and this font choice.
Nice.
And it resonated. There was a lot of positive feedback on it. We quite like it.
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts. I'm going to try and write one down so that I don't forget, because I can only do one thing at a time, contrary to popular belief. So, okay, so preparing for this interview, I wanted to get a different perspective, and the fact is, when I posted this on LinkedIn, I was actually a little bit worried about posting it, thinking that someone, and then maybe a whole thread of people, might just attack me saying this isn't appropriate for this medium. And I got the complete opposite, right? Like, everybody was all over this, saying this is brilliant, this is tasteful, effectively done, on a medium that keeps the trolls away. So again, in preparation for this hangout, I called up the most conservative friend I have.
Oh, boy.
And I asked, I said, this is how it went down. I saw this first campaign, and then I saw this one recently. I posted it. I'm interviewing this guy, and I explained the one ad that we have on screen right now. And it was a woman who I was talking to, and her response was, it wasn't the word crass or vulgar. She said something else, but she said that is like terribly vulgar. And she said, and why do you need to advertise this stuff?
That's the rub.
Yeah, hold on. I got to finish this line.
Okay.
Because, like, people who need that kind of sick stuff will find it anyway. Now, she and I have different opinions, and we know that, and we respect each other and our different opinions. Did you face any of that opposition with this?
Not yet. I mean, I think to us specifically, and I think more accurately probably to our client partners, there's nothing wrong with people exploring the benefits of sexual health. I mean, we're all adults. We're not telling anybody how to think, what to choose. We are trying in what I believe an endearing manner to tell people to not forget about themselves.
Yes.
To remember that the person that matters the most, I have children, I'm married, and all the things, but ultimately, if you can't love yourself, that's going to come out in nasty ways to the rest of the world around you. So, and I think it's something they take, honestly, I think they take it quite seriously. I think people mistake the category of the old for the category of the now. There are...
Explain that.
Okay, I think that 40 years ago, there was a belief that everything was whispered and dirty, and you don't talk about that type of attitude. And I think that we've come to realize that, and I'll speak on females specifically, that women, generally speaking, obviously there are exceptions to everything. People are more dynamic than just what sex they are or what they identify as.
Sure.
But
of course,
that there was a belief that people weren't comfortable, specifically, in my opinion, people who were female or identifying as female weren't comfortable talking about sex. And that's not the case. They just didn't want to talk about sex the way it was being talked about. And I think because of that, it has led to this kind of opening and changing of the dialogue around sex to becoming sexual wellness. That it isn't just about the action, it's about the whole package around the action.
Absolutely.
So, to me, and I think it's done in a way that if it's not for you, then don't look into it. You don't have to know it. Like,
totally.
There's nothing saying, do this now. So, if someone has an issue about the category in general, there's no fix for that. There never will be. And that's what makes the world a great place. because everybody's got opinions.
For sure. And I think you kind of touched on this earlier when you said, the like self-care comes in many different forms. And for some people, sexual self-care is extremely important. And then there are going to be others for whom it's not. And that's okay. And they're allowed. I think this is about telling the folks for whom it is important that they're allowed too. The one thing, and we didn't go too deep into this. We talked for maybe about 15 minutes, my friend and I. But the one thing that I thought was kind of the clincher for me was that she has driven by these billboards and never noticed. And I think there's something special about that. The fact that it speaks to you if you are the target audience and doesn't if you're not. Like that's pretty target, like bang on, excuse the language, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
In terms of getting that connection with the audience, I think that for me, that almost negates the discomfort because she only had to deal with it when I asked her opinion about it. So, if it doesn't affect you driving down the highway, should be good.
It's odd that it's, for me on a personal level, and I'm only speaking for myself, not the client partners, not for the agency, but that from my perspective, that perspective would be the same as saying, why do people have to advertise about financial services? My money's my business. Why do we all have to talk about money? Why are people so focused on money?
Yes.
I mean, it's from my perspective, it's continuing to make an issue where we shouldn't really be having an issue. I understand the need to not show things to children. Obviously, there's life stage moments, of course, but there's not an ounce of vulgarity or anything like that. It's very tasteful.
That might have been the word. That might have been the word, but that's the thing. They say to somebody who's only got a hammer, they only see nails, right? And so I think if this is a sensitive issue for you, then you might take it as something that touches on one of those buttons, one of those triggers for you. So it is what it is. But I was very curious to hear what someone with what I knew would be a very different point of view would say about these campaigns, especially after getting such an overwhelmingly positive response on LinkedIn.
Right. So, but it sounds like she has more of an issue with the category.
That's fair.
Than
it
the
wasn't
work.
The ads. Yeah.
Right. It's the category, and there is no solve for that.
No, that's totally fair. And one of the things that I think, like a very conservative perspective, and we don't need to talk about anything biblical here, but generally, and I know the Bible says this, if something is happening in the dark, if something is happening that you don't want people to see, then it's probably something bad. If you can do it in the open, then you can feel confident that you're not doing anything wrong. And my big discomfort with all of the rules around this, around advertising for this adult industry is, I don't feel comfortable with the fact that you've got to flip to the back of the newspaper and read, some cryptic, but direct, little snippet of an ad. I prefer that it be done in some kind of open, respectful way where we can shine a light, because when we shine a light, it means we're doing it with integrity.
Right.
That's my take. So I'm a fan, and I believe we're all allowed to have our feelings. So it's all good.
Of course. That's what makes the world the world, right?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that, I think you hit on this with that quote about it's not great advertising, it's the fact that people are talking about advertising that makes for a great result. I've spoken at a lot of conferences for learning conferences in the learning industry on what lessons learning needs to take from marketing. In some ways, learning, we all know that learning has intrinsic value. And yet the learning industry is often not as engaging. Like, I think about health and safety training. Literally, your life is at stake, and people just, watch whatever and click next, next, next. Don't check out the slides, and they're not compelled to by the content. And then measuring learning outcomes is such a gamble. And then in the marketing industry, we don't have the luxury of saying, well, I think it helped sell, right? If you can't measure progress for marketing, there is no intrinsic value. You have no job, right? So I've talked a lot about that. And one of the things that I've tried to emphasize over and over again is this idea of engagement. I think it goes across the board. If you think about Queen, and We Will Rock You, it's a song where people can engage and become part of the song. And one of the things that I really love about this campaign, and I think illustrates this point, is the fact that your brain actually has to engage. You need to process, and then you laugh. And it's literally an interaction. Even if you don't talk about it, the fact is you'll remember. And I think that that idea that we can interact with something that's just sitting there, something that we just read, obviously we can do that. We have books, we have, art we've been looking at for who knows how long, but I think it is very easy to confuse something like clickbait as engagement, whereas this is actually an interaction. What are your thoughts on that?
What a great question. So I think any good advertisement or form of communication is a connect the dots. And I think a great advertisement and a great form of communication, the viewer connects the last dot. There should always be a moment or or there has to be that little thing that gets you at the next set of lights to have the person go, oh, did you see that thing, when they did this stuff? The same way with if you do entertaining radio or television, someone will point at the radio or get quiet in the house and say, wait, watch this. Watch what happens here.
Yes.
Because that's that moment where you get to connect the dots. I think what you said about education is such an incredible observation. I've never thought about that before. It's true. I don't know why the same lens hasn't been applied to the learning, regardless of fields, of allowing the person being taught the lesson to connect the dots in a less logical way and a more emotional way. I mean, one of the best versions of lateral thinking I always tell, if I'm talking to students mostly, is this riddle. I'll say, what can you sit on, sleep on, and brush your teeth with? And, generally they'll struggle and there'll be a bunch of answers and they're all wrong because the answer is a chair, a bed, and a toothbrush. Sometimes the smartest answer is the obvious answer. You just have to deliver it in a creative way. And I think that specifically to the education, that's a great observation, actually. I don't know why that doesn't happen.
I honestly think the reason is because there's intrinsic value, right? Like if you're passionate about learning, and I've never met a person in the learning industry that isn't passionate about learning. Every single person is in love with what they do. But I think it's easy to assume that everyone else feels that way, especially when, businesses throw money at education constantly because it has intrinsic value. And I think marketing has had an uphill battle. I think there's something powerful about having an uphill battle, Right. You stretch, you discover what you didn't know before.
This is a weird parallel, but I've always been a fan my whole life and reading stories about prison breaks. I've never read a story about someone or in a group of individuals who have broken out of a prison and gone, wow, that was stupid. The level of ingenuity that it took either an individual or this group of 3 people or 6 to plan out, chip away at a problem like for years on end to be able to break out of a system. There's just power in that. So, you know, even if you look at art, the most of the greatest movements that have happened in art have always come out of war and pain and struggle and poverty, because you have to bend, you have to figure out a way, you have to find a different way to express yourself or to move forward. So I think I agree with you 100% that the uphill battle, although it may suck, might actually be what causes the creativity to continue to push forward. That might be, it might be right.
There are two books that talk about this, and I cannot remember both of them, but I remember one, The Talent Code, talks about some of the interesting correlations between some of the top performers in the world and things like where, like, their birth order amongst their siblings, stuff like that. And one of the one that stands out to me in this moment anyway is that some of the fastest runners in the world were the youngest child in large families.
Right.
You know,
it's because they're running from a beating.
That is hilarious, because I thought they were running to catch up because they wanted to be involved. No. You had a very different upbringing.
I am the youngest of 4 boys. They're running from a beating.
Well, you know what? Whatever they're running from, motivation, where there's a will, there's a way. You know, that's not a cliche by accident. Like, there's a reason we say that. Okay, so I'm going to play the radio spot accompanying this campaign for everyone.
The 60 or the 30? I'm
going to play the 30. Okay. I don't want someone to tune in and kind of miss out on, you know, but I think that this is a really good example of what we're talking about in terms of, like, actually connecting the dots, like you said. So here we go.
Hun, you know how Linda and Brad started investing through PinkCherry.ca? I think we're ready too.
But what if we get fingered for insider trading?
We don't have to go all in or do anything risky. It's about experimenting.
Okay, but what if I'm not ready yet?
Then I'll just use it. Invest in futures together with the We Vibe Chorus Couples Vibrator. With adjustable bonds, returns are always very, very good. PinkCherry.ca. Invest in yourself.
Is that a vibrating sound in the background?
Yes.
You know how
I didn't pick that up the first time. That's brilliant. There's something else that I loved about that. You talked about earlier the photography, using that sort of like perfectly cheesy, visually appealing. You got the voice too. It's bang on.
And the little piano bits that come in.
Yes.
But that's what's made it stick. That's what's made it stick. It's that that kind of familiar thing people are used to hearing, and then all of a sudden, wait, what? And they look at their radio. Did they just hang on?
Yes.
And now they're coming along the journey with you. And you know, when that happens, when you can make that happen with a piece of communication, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, think about all of us do this. I do this. If anyone does this, if you see a movie before any of your friends have seen the movie, and it's a great movie, I mean, you love this movie, you are dying to be the primary reason that other people go see that movie. And because you recommended hard and they go see the movie and they love the movie, you had nothing to do with the movie. There's a bit of ownership of the movie. Like, you feel like, I told you, right? Did I steer? I told you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you made the movie. That's what we all do. So when with advertising, it's the same thing. If it's a billboard or a TV commercial or a radio ad, I do it. We're all people. If there's something that we like and we're motivated by, we share it. We talk about it. We make sure our peers see it and pay attention to it. And that really is what advertising should be doing. That's what causes the action. Is, like I was saying, it's not that the work itself doesn't do anything. It's people talking about the work that does something. And, you know, we've gotten into this world, in my opinion, maybe it's a bit of a rant and we're starting to swing out of it, thank God, but where the data of things had started to, what I would call the tyranny of logic, where so much was based on the algorithm versus just go back to being a human. Make something that's memorable. That's if you know, this chase that happened, it doesn't happen as much anymore, but for 5 years the big thing was unskippable. How we got to make unskippable ads on YouTube and social media and 6-second ads. If you want to make something unskippable, just make something really good and they won't skip over it. But that's not what happened. It became, no, show a dog, put in a baby, and make sure there's a loud explosion. People won't skip over that. They love that. Like, we just kind of lost our way a little. And I feel like there's a resurgence now starting to come back where it's becoming more about creativity. You still need the data. It helps inform your media purchases. It helps inform your audience. There's so much value in it. But it should be a validator more than a dictator of what the creative looks like or how the creative behaves.
Yeah, for sure. It should be a tool in the arsenal. Yeah, not the directive, right? Not the strategist.
100%. It's another color on the palette that you are painting with. And I think for a while, because it was a new color that got introduced, people mistook it for the paintbrush. It's not. It's just another color. And I think we're starting to figure that out now. And you know, all the way back to, you know, there's a famous saying that clients get the work they buy. You have to have good client partners that can recognize what is going to work and what isn't. So it isn't just, it's not just the ability to come up with the ideas. You need to have the proper client partnerships that recognize. So, you know, this Pink Cherry work is as much our clients as it is us. Obviously, you know.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick that up in a second, but I just want to make a call out to the audience. If you love the ads, if you are offended by the ads, let us know. I want to know. So at this point, you've seen a few of the billboards, you've heard the radio spot. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we are at your disposal to chat about it. So in terms of you know, raising that bar, the quality, I'm one of those people. I own everything. I take it very, very personally. So if I have a mandate, I'm going to do it. And even if my client is the barrier, I think it's my job to find a way to show them the light. And I might be wrong. I need to accept that too. But there needs to be acknowledgement in order to actually have like, in order to really reject an idea, I think you have to actually see the idea, give the idea a chance. You've had a pretty great career. You've worked with some incredible brands at some incredible agencies. You head up your own agency. There's like, I'm assuming that when you have a client that comes to an agency specifically, they're buying in a bit already.
Yes.
But I'm sure you've had customers, clients, partners where it really does require a paradigm shift, a shift in their thinking. And I'm wondering what advice do you have for other marketers about how to do their best work in a scenario where they have a challenging partner situation?
Wow. I don't
Sorry,
know.
man.
No. It's a great question. I wish there was, it's going to be a meandering answer.
Okay.
Because every challenge is a custom made challenge that has a custom made solution with custom made factors. So, there isn't a, if you press this button, then it works. There isn't that. I mean, sometimes we have had client partners we've parted ways with because we're just not right for each other. There is no wrong. There's just versions of right. And, you know, I think that there's two parts that are challenging. One is often I find agencies are trying to sell a Ferrari when the person is looking for a pickup truck. So that metaphor across the board, from cost to features to the fact that, yeah, but I can't put my hockey equipment in the back of the Ferrari, whatever it may be, they're looking for a pickup truck, not a Ferrari. And then on top of that, what the agency may think is a Ferrari, they may think is a shit box.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's, I don't know. It's a hard answer to have. I mean, at the end of the day, what we try and do, we don't work with any client partners that, like at the end of the day, people choose people.
Yes.
We're all human beings. So we kind of have a rule that regardless of budget, money, anything that this client partner can bring to us, if we were stuck at the airport for a 5-hour delay layover, how would we be? If we would be okay, and it would never really be that awkward if we argue well together. You know those people you just argue the right way with? Hopefully your husband's one of them, where you argue the right way versus the people you
perfectly with
there
me.
you go. Versus the people that argue the wrong way. You know, where you're having, I'll use a personal situation where you're arguing with someone and then you say, look, just come here, sit down for a second. Well, why do I have to sit down? I just want you to sit down. Now you're arguing about sitting down. Those are two people who shouldn't argue together.
Yeah.
If you have the right client partners that you argue well with together, that you kind of really actually like each other, generally speaking, you get to where you need to get to. And that doesn't mean the agency gets the client partner to where they need to get to. It means that the client partner gets the agency where it needs to get to, while the agency is getting the client partner where it needs to get to. And it's a game of catch that happens. But there isn't you know, I think as a business leader, fail fast, cut bait quickly. We are in the business of pushing water up a hill made out of water. It is a tough go. And you have to be able to recognize quickly, yeah, it's not for us, or we're not for each other, and do it in a way where that doesn't mean that that client partner's wrong. It just means you're wrong for each other. And there's stories like that happen all the time where 3 agencies will be in a room pitching creative ideas. Generally speaking, most agencies, they're pretty good. If they've been around for a while and they've been recognized and they've worked with some serious brands, chances are they're pretty good. The people in the room have pretty good creative ideas, pretty hardworking, very strategic. You put those 3 agencies in a room with the same client partner, presenting relatively the same creative, relatively the same strategy, but one's going to win. It's the people. And you can't fake that. It's like a relationship. You know, we're fond of saying we're not right for everybody because no one's right for everybody. And so I don't, you know, wake up every day thinking you are 100% right until you're proven wrong, but be open to being wrong. I love being proven wrong, and I'm not easy. Believe me, I am not. This is not an easy day because I think I'm right. And my partners at work will say, but I'll also go, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong. That's killer. But I don't think there's not a catch-all, at least in my experience, there hasn't, because, you know, we are a moment in a marketer's, in a CMO, a CEO, a president, a business leader's day. We are a moment. We eat, sleep, live, dream, die the business vertical we're in, but we're a vertical. They've got supply chain issues. They've got HR issues. They've got P&L issues. They've got real estate issues. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And we're part of it. We're not it. And I think that the better people on this side of the fence can understand our role in their ecosystem and start from a place of empathy. Everybody's walking around with stuff. Everybody's had a bad morning. everybody didn't get back to the person they should have, and my mom's mad at me because I haven't called in a month, or whatever it may be. Everybody's got their thing. I think if you start from that place, most people end up doing okay. Getting someone to see the light through the tunnel, or why can't they just see how great this is? I don't know. Then you got to do a better job of making sure it's great. I don't know. There hasn't been one, when I do this, it gets them every time. Like, there isn't that. It's that's Mad Men and TV shows and movies. That's not real life.
Sure.
It's not that way, right? So I don't know.
For sure. I think if I could fast forward, then I think there is the one button is like the revenue results, but you often can't get to that in that scenario where you're not meshing, where you don't share the base values, the core beliefs, and all of that, where you end up arguing about whether you should sit down to talk about it as opposed to what you need to talk about. I think it's hard to even get to a result. So I'm a huge believer in, like you said, fail fast. And I'm a huge believer in, like, test constantly, quickly, and move on, make a decision. But sometimes you can't do that. And if you can't do that, then you really, you might not even get to the fail. Just get out. It's not a good relationship.
And not just that, like I've had CMOs, and I'm a little long in the tooth, but over my history that I've run into in different roles or kept in touch with, that have said to me, the best thing you did was when you told me we weren't right for each other, because you were right. It would have been a nightmare. Like, you will gather respect. People seem to forget that the same way you're talking about that CMO behind his back with your coworkers, that CMO is talking to his coworkers behind your back. So do your best to build an honest, transparent relationship. And it may mean sometimes you're just not with the right partner, which is okay. It's like a relationship. You don't want to wreck each other's lives and make bad advertising in the process. That's horrible.
Bad advertising babies.
Exactly. Bad advertising babies. Who wants a bad advertising baby?
Nobody. And then that poor baby's out in the market and just feels awkward. And it's just, it's just not meant to be.
Exactly. Foster parents are involved. It just gets crazy.
Yeah, totally. It's complicated. Okay. You mentioned, just as before we wrap up, you mentioned we work with people. It ultimately is about connecting with people. Tell me, I think people have gotten a chance to get to know you and the kinds of ideas that inspire you and the philosophies that are behind some of your thinking and the work that you do. Tell me something about you that isn't on a resume or isn't in a proposal. Something that just helps everyone who's listening today get to know you, and me get to know you a little bit more.
Can I tell a story that happened to me that I think taught me a lesson that I take with me in my life now? Is that good?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That'd be great.
So when I was a child, at the time, so I'm a bit old, when I was a child, Marineland, which I understand that Marineland is bad, and I know I understand everything about the fish and the mammals and the whales, but at that time I was probably 9, and Marineland we weren't as woke as we are now, so Marineland was still a thing, and they had I believe the fastest roller coaster in Canada and the 3rd fastest roller coaster in North America, and I was dying to go to it. Okay. And I am the youngest of 4 boys. My brothers are all much older than me, 8, 10, and 12 years older than me. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So they did a bunch of stuff with my mom and dad. And then I came along and I just did stuff because they were already, like, when I was 9, my oldest brother was 22 or whatever. It was just a different vibe. So anyhow, I begged my parents to take me to Marineland because I really wanted to go on this roller coaster. So we drove the 2 hours. I grew up in Toronto. We drove 2 hours, went to Marineland, got there. I chickened out. It was too big. I was too scared of it. I was just really, I was crying. It was too much. Couldn't do it. I think my dad wanted to kill me, but he hit it well.
Yeah.
You know, and then we turned around and we drove home. And I grew up in, you know, a very sports punch more than hug relationship with my big brothers.
Yes.
And I was just, you know, the last 10 minutes of the drive dreading the anxiety of walking into the house and having to hear all of them when I told them, you know, when they found out I chickened out. So go in, walk in, and my parents, they didn't talk to me the whole ride home. Like, they were pissed. I know they were pissed.
Yeah.
I just sat quiet in the back through tears. We walk in to the house, and my oldest brother, next oldest brother up, brother Adam, was sitting with my brother above him, Dave, and I don't know where oldest brother Frank was, and was like, got up and said, "So, how was it?" And before I could answer, my mom said, "Oh, it was great. We went on it like 4 times." And my dad said he went once, and it left such an indelible mark on my character, on my soul. And I grew up in a family. You don't lie. You know, if you lie, you got something that isn't politically correct now.
I understand. I got those
Exactly.
too.
Yes. Okay. It was just a different time. Not saying it was right, but a different era. And it just shook me to my core. And my chest came out, and it just always stuck with me that, you know, sometimes doing something wrong is right. And I don't know. So that is a story that not too many people have ever heard me tell. So it's obviously the wine, but
I love the story. I hope
there
it
you
was
go.
a little
Well,
bit me. Just a little bit me.
yes, it was you and the wine.
And the wine, yes.
And the wine. But it you know, to this day, I remember what the room looked like. I remember all of it like it happened last Tuesday.
Yes.
And it was my parents at their very, very best, I would say. So
that's a beautiful one.
Unrelated to the business, but there's a story.
I don't know. I think there's something about stick to with people, you know, like it's a loyalty thing. We get on the ship together. The ship goes down. We're all together. You know, we do this together, and we can part ways when it doesn't make sense. But I don't think we part ways midway. So I think that's really cool.
Just on that point, there's something that has I think it's a bit of a backlash in our industry when, you know, a client, someone will be a marketer at one company, and then they leave that company, they go to another company, and then when they get to that company, they call up an RFP. And then they end up picking up an agency, and the agency they pick happens to be the agency they were with when they were at the other company. And there's a lot of people in our industry who get really upset at that, think that that's horrible and it's not fair. I actually think it's amazing. I think the fact that an agency group of people can join and have such a relationship with a CMO or a president or CEO that it travels to other destinations.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, that our business needs more of that. I think we need more loyalty than less.
Community. I think it's, you also always have to look at root cause. And I think that is, it's an issue for another day, but I think that is something that we're really grappling with as a society across the board. And the fact is, if a company hires someone, they're hiring that person because there's value alignment.
Right.
And if that person came from an agency where they had value alignment, it's kind of a logical assessment that the value alignment would extend. And yeah, so I totally hear what you're saying. You know what? I missed a bunch of comments because I'm just such a bum here. I'm gonna show them now. Attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. Hurried today by social media. How do you make an ad effective when you don't have 30, 60 but 5 seconds. How would you answer that one?
Whatever you do, don't think about a camel.
I'm assuming you're referencing a cigarette ad. I don't know.
But I think probably most people can't not think about a camel right now. I think that there is. I think that I'll use those PinkCherry just for a lack of an example off the top of my head. That's a 5-second delivery mechanism. I think that I hate 5-second media. I think it's adding to the problem, adding to the and I mean it in air quotes, not in the medical term, the ADD of consumerism right now that everybody is, squirrel, no matter what it is. But I think that within that 5 seconds, depending on the media, there's always a way around things. I'll give you. I'm trying to think of an example. There's a great. Here's a good headline. This was for I believe CBS, the TV station, and it was an out-of-home board, and it said, "If TV's so bad for you, why is there one in every hospital? Or why is there one in every hospital room?" That's 5 seconds. Like, I think there was a long history of great headlines, but I don't think that great ideas should require 30 or 60 seconds, but I don't know. It's hard because I feel like what we do for a living as an industry, I'm not, and maybe I used to before I was at this life stage, but I'm not sitting around thinking of a great way to solve a 5-second media format until I'm tasked with having to solve a 5-second media format for a brand. But I think as a creative, I love that shit. I mean, that's the juice. That's the, okay, game on. Like, I like those types of challenges. But, I don't know what the formula is, but I do know that at a home is designed to work in 3 seconds. Those billboards are designed to work in 3 seconds. All billboards, truthfully, are designed to work in 3 seconds. There was some of the best for research, some of the best billboard headlines ever written are for the publication The Economist. Long, long history, even right down to doing an out-of-home board that said, the average length of an out-of-home board should not have more than 11 words. This, however, is an out-of-home board for an Economist reader. So even bending the rules to make their point. But I wish it's a great question, Mike. I wish I could give you a better answer. I think, like I said, whatever you do, don't think about a camel. I think there's a trick. That's one of those questions where, don't think of a camel. I'm thinking of a camel. It's one of those things. I don't know.
I was imagining an old cigarette ad.
But there you go. You thought of a camel.
A magazine. I totally
did. You thought of a camel.
The one thing that I would say to I think this actually does pick up on a lot of the themes that you're talking about today. But this is my brain hacking the situation. I think you use your first 5 seconds to earn the next 5 and then the next 5, I don't think that you're guaranteed to get those 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I think every sentence needs to earn the eyeballs of the reader for the next, or the attention, or whatever you want to say. It comes back to...
I'm assuming Mike's question comes out of this 6-second YouTube unskippable
for sure
stuff that's been happening. And I actually think it's going to start to swing the other way. I mean, the problem is, this is again a bit of a rant, and it's my opinion. The problem is, as we've come to realize with various things that have happened in politics around elections, The algorithm of social media is designed to keep your attention. Full stop.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how it does that. If it realizes that what you tend to pay more attention to are things that are the now equivalent of Jerry Springer episodes, it will continue to feed you Jerry Springer episodes. So I believe this sort of 6-second unskippable mentality it's a chicken and egg now with the algorithm designed to keep the attention. So,
For sure. Yeah, that's true.
if I was regulating things, I'd get rid of them.
But there's something that you said earlier about the unskippable ad. If you want it to be unskippable, make it better. And, like that, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say about you use that 5 seconds to earn another 5,
Right.
And you just kind of keep building because there are unskippable ads, but it's not because there's a perfect formula, right? So I don't know. It's a really interesting question and definitely a custom answer, I think.
Every time.
We've
Because
also got,
Yeah,
sorry,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, cool. So from Narissa, thank you for your comment. I've always been so interested in marketing and advertising, and this is just so good. I feel like there are so many golden concepts being brought up that I'm going to stew on for a while. Love the Pink Cherry campaign, by the way. Subtle but so loud and an incredible taste. Thank you so much, Narissa. That's really a compliment to you, Matt.
That's very nice. Well, a compliment to our clients and the
Yes.
collective team that brings all the things to life, etc. I have the benefit of standing at the front of the stage, but there's obviously an army that's behind me working on everything. And again, a killer client, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Thank you very
so
much, Narissa.
Yeah, thank you for the love. And we also got some love for you. Everyone loves marine lands. After all,
there you go.
Like,
See?
what? Honest to God, when you were telling that story and you were like, I know. But at the time, and in my head, I was thinking, but everyone loves marine lands.
Everybody loved marine lands.
Like that was, that was a jingle that worked, I have to say.
Of course. I will say that is one of the best compliments or comments I've seen in a while, Stephanie. So thank you very much.
Awesome. I have had a blast chatting with you. This hour has just flown by. I hope you've had a good time.
I've had a great time. It has flown by, actually. I quite enjoyed myself, and I really appreciate the invite, and I'd be happy to come back. It's great.
For sure. Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. And you're in my contact book now, buddy. So
all right.
You're in trouble.
Okay. Well,
my husband says I'm like a pit bull. So so don't be too engaging when we have interviews. Okay. I'll end up bringing you back way too often. All right. Okay, folks, thank you for your eyeballs, your eardrums, your attention, your time. It's the absolute most valuable thing that you can give us. I'm honored that you spent your night with us. So thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking with you tonight.
You as well. And thank you very, very much. And I'm glad, I hope people tuned in and enjoyed it. And till the next one.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, to your smart selves, have a wonderful weekend. Talk soon. See you next week. Cheers.